What's up? It's me, Kevin, back with another video. So today I'd like to try something a little bit different. As you can see, I'm using a voiceover, so you're not going to really see me in this video. I figured this would be a nice change of pace. That way you're not just watching me talk while I'm sitting in my car. So, if you like, feel free. You can lock the screen and you can go about your day and just listen to me if you'd like. So anyway, on to today's subject. So, I'd like to talk a little bit about diet, namely the carnivore diet and my experience with it. So lately, I've been in this situation. If you watch one of my previous videos where I talk about my current financial situation, and I've been low on funds lately, and so I'm kind of forced to. When you're in this situation, you really can't eat as much as you'd like. You know, there's that popular saying where people say they've been living off of ramen noodles. And that's mainly true. It's usually always some kind of carb filler like rice, beans, noodles. And for good reason, because usually carbs are lower. Carbs are cheaper more often. You ever notice that? You ever notice how sometimes so-called healthy food is often more expensive? I mean, look at eggs. I mean, eggs have gone up in price. I think eggs are an excellent food. I know there's plenty of people who disagree. So anyway, because of my situation, I've been forced to eat a lot of carbs, a lot of rice and beans. And I can kind of appreciate how good I had it before when I was basically on the carnivore diet. Yeah, at that point I was eating a lot of steak and eggs, and boy do I miss it. Honestly, it was probably the best diet I ever had, the best experience I ever had. So basically, we have to go back about a year. About a year ago, I had just changed jobs. I had lost a shit ton of weight at my previous job. But at the time, you know, when I was pretty much just over broke, and I was living off of lots of rice and beans. And I got pretty weak. I was feeling pretty weak. I was constantly hungry. I was constantly craving meat. And also, I had this constant issue. So, I am actually a type 1 diabetic, which means that I require insulin, which is normally produced in a normal human's pancreas. But my body doesn't produce it, so I have to get mine externally. And every time I want to eat something, I have to take a dose of insulin. So insulin is basically this hormone that your body uses to essentially open up your cells and allow them to absorb energy that you get from your food. Like I said, my body, you know, at the young age of 13 decided it didn't want to do that anymore, so it basically quit. And I was diagnosed as a diabetic, and since then I've been forced to live this way. So if I don't take my insulin, if I eat something, especially if it has lots of sugar and carbohydrates, it could send my blood sugar through the roof. So carbs have always been something, kind of a double-edged sword. Yes, they're delicious. Yes, I love eating them, but they can be dangerous in large quantities for me. So anyway, at this time, I was working a bunch of tough physical jobs, which also can lower your blood sugar. Physical activity can actually lower my blood sugar over time, especially if insulin is included in the mix. All too often, I was in a situation where my blood sugar would start to get low, and I would have to eat a snack. I always carry food on me. I always have snacks. I always have glucose tablets just in case my blood sugar gets too low. Also, at the same time, I was a huge fan of intermittent fasting and eating one meal a day. Even though when I initially became a diabetic, I was initially trained that you got to eat 6 times a day. That's 3 meals and 3 smaller snacks. But I couldn't stand that. I couldn't stand eating that way. I couldn't stand living that way. As I got older, I fell in love with intermittent fasting as well as one meal a day. It's really helped me to shed pounds and stay in pretty decent shape. I mean, I'm a fat shit now, but when I was actively working and I was actively dieting, it really helped to get me in shape. It really helped to get me as lean as I've ever been. So a year ago, I was in this situation where I was sick and tired of the blood sugar crashes. I was sick and tired of the unstable blood sugar and my body trying to be a psycho and freaking kill me every day. And I was tired of craving stuff. Because with me, when I eat a lot of carbohydrates, it doesn't really satisfy me that much. I always would find myself craving more. And it was very difficult for me to stick to any kind of diet. Especially the leaner I got. As I started to lose weight, it's like my appetite would go up through the roof. And when I eat a lot of carbs, I notice like my hunger levels are considerably higher. And I'm prone to binge eating. I mean, I eat when I'm bored, I eat when I'm stressed. And so it was always very difficult to stick to any kind of plan or diet long term. So I decided to give carnivore a chance, and boy, I absolutely freaking loved it. For one, it actually satisfies me. It actually gives me this feeling of fullness that I never had when I was eating lots of carbs. You know, it's like you can actually eat less and feel fuller. So I can give you a comparison here. So if I was forced to choose between eating rice and beans, a bowl full of rice and beans, or a bowl full of ground beef and eggs, every day for the rest of my life, I would take the ground beef and eggs, hands down. I think it even tastes better, but it absolutely keeps me much more satisfied. I'm able to stick to it. My energy levels are quite decent. Honestly, meat, eggs, and milk, if those were the 3 foods I could eat for the rest of my life, it wouldn't be so bad. My energy levels are decent. I feel satisfied throughout the day. There's no cravings, no need to snack or binge. How do I do in the gym? Hard to say. I mean, I've pondered this quite a bit. I would actually have to really experiment because there have been times where I've done low carb diets in the past, and my energy levels would vary. Some days I felt like absolute crap. Other days I felt pretty decent, especially if I was in ketosis. And that's ketosis is basically when your body runs out of carbohydrates, uses up all of its glycogen stores, and then it's forced to use ketones, produce ketones instead. And at that point, you're basically running off of your own body fat. So when I'm in ketosis, my energy levels were pretty decent. I mean, I could go a whole day at work without requiring a snack or a meal, and I still had enough energy to go to the gym and get those lifts in. How does that compare to when I was eating a lot of carbohydrates? Tough to say, honestly. My performance, I would have to actually experiment. I would have to go 1 week where I'm eating a bunch of carbs and then another week on carnivore and see how, not only how I feel, but how I perform. Actually write down my exercises, which I do anyway religiously. But I guess that would be, maybe once I get out of this situation and I start making decent money again, I can try that. I can experiment with that and see how it goes. And then maybe I'll show you. That's what I'll do. That'll be a great idea. I'll run a little experiment and then I'll share the results with you. So yeah, I mean, I absolutely love it. And so now, the age-old question. What are humans meant to eat? Are we herbivores? Are we carnivores? Or are we omnivores? Honestly, I'm going to say omnivores. I mean, if you look at our biology, the way I see it, the way we're built, with the way our teeth look, the way our digestive systems look, the way our stomachs and our stomach acidity, the way that is, it sounds to me like us humans, we're kind of like a freak of nature. We're kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. So I don't really understand why this constant debate, this constant bickering between, whether humans are ideally herbivores meant to eat plants or carnivores, because, our hunter-gatherer ancestors ate a lot of meat. I don't know why there's this constant need to take sides, when in reality, I think it's much more gray. I think we're just optimized to be able to consume both. We're literally a jack of all trades, master of none. I mean, we are not the most ideal when it comes to eating and digesting plants. There's plant matter that we can't even fully digest. And if you look at the most prolific plant eaters out there, the herbivores, they have multiple stomachs to get the job done. And they have these extremely long digestive tracts. Meanwhile, you look at carnivores, and it's like they're just built to shred up meat and consume it and digest that shit as quickly as possible. I think us humans, we're right in the middle. I mean, we're perfectly optimized to consume a little bit of both, but not nearly as well as carnivores or herbivores. So I think it's really not that difficult to understand. But frankly, I've had a very positive experience eating mostly animal products. And not only do I eat lots of steak and eggs when I can, but also milk, dairy, cheese, Greek yogurt. I love yogurt. So, all in all, bottom line, I absolutely love carnivore. It stabilizes my blood sugar, it keeps me satisfied and full. It's a lot easier for me to slim down and get in shape because I can essentially eat less and still remain satisfied. And if I do need to bulk up, put on some weight, I just eat more of it. It's quite simple, actually. So, yeah, that's kind of my take on the carnivore diet. Do I think it's 100% for everybody? No. And do I think it's something, ideally, occasionally, every once in a while, yeah, I'm going to want some rice, potatoes, bread, other foods. But I think for a diet, for at least for a staple, I think it's ideal for me, at least. Maybe when I experiment in the gym and I start to feel that my performance is starting to suffer, perhaps I may have to introduce some carbohydrates every now and then. But apart from that, I love it. So yeah, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.